Dean Lenane. I am the Geschäftsführer, which is the Managing Director of Fisher Dynamics Europe. John Boyd is probably the foremost strategist of the 20th century for the United States of America. John Boyd took warfare and turned it into conflict. In other words, and conflict we can apply to everything. So in business I can use Boyd's concepts and what I've learned from him, because war is in a matter of, or business is in a matter of speaking war. As a matter of fact, there's a Japanese proverb, business is war. And so it's another kind of warfare, but Boyd's strategic thinking and the tools that he uses and the tools that I've learned from dealing with his methods and methodologies has been extremely useful to me. One of the things Boyd always taught was hit them where they ain't. You know, don't run into a head-to-head fight with somebody who's stronger. And for example, the way I got into this is that I came to the United States with a small German company. We were much smaller than anybody else. And I went looking for historical examples of where small organizations had defeated large organizations. And I got about probably 6 months into this research, and I stumbled across John Boyd. And where I had thought I had been doing a lot of clever things, I found that Boyd had done it immeasurably better than I could have, and was so far down the road that I was going on that I basically scrapped all my stuff and just picked up and used what Boyd had been working on. One of the things I did is that, you know, Boyd teaches you to attack your enemy's plan, not his strength. So one of the things I would do is I would search for my large opponent's weaknesses, and then I would attack those weaknesses. So for example, one of the companies who I was up against, very large, very rich, powerful American company, they had an image problem with customer engineering I can't name the name, but a large American OEM had a huge issue with their products at that customer's engineering group. So what I did is I started going to that customer, talking to the engineers. I didn't talk to purchasing at all. I went into the engineers, started talking about what we could do, started to help them write their new specifications. Oddly enough, some of the properties of my product found their way into the new specification. So when it came time to bid for that business, lo and behold, mine was the only product that could fulfill all of the new specifications. That's a completely Boydian concept. You know, looking at the environment, orienting myself to the environment, the terrain, the landscape, where my opponent was strong, where he was weak, how to exploit his weaknesses, make a decision and act. That was how I built that. And that company, we were able to build from $20 million in turnover in the year 2000 to almost $350 million in turnover by 2011. So in 10 years, and I basically just used Boyd's concepts in doing this. The environment in which we operate is so dynamic and nonlinear that you have to be able to change your plan. You have to be able to throw away everything you've worked on for the last year and a half in a heartbeat, in the blink of an eye, and change direction. And the whole idea is to, and this is another very basic Boyd concept, and it comes right out of his earliest days when he was doing energy maneuverability, you have to be able to transition from one plan to another plan, from one direction to another direction, without losing forward momentum. And so the ability to be able to transition from plan A to plan B and not slow your organization down, to keep that OODA loop churning, is a key success factor. The OODA loop is an extremely complicated process that I could talk for hours about. It's not it's inherently complicated because you start with your observations, and what I generally do is I will get my staff in a room and we will talk about all the observations about a specific problem that we have. And then we will apply what our previous knowledge is, what new information we have. We will reflect our own organization's, what's our culture like. I came from a German organization, so the German organization was very detail oriented. They were very into engineering grimble. You could have a board meeting where we would argue for 2 hours over the plating on a screw. And that level of detail, which has also been a handicap for the Germans throughout the years, but if you used it properly, was a tremendous strength. And then there was the genetic component. The company that I worked for at the time had been in business since 1849. They had a genetic makeup that was different from the cultural traditions. You know, the German cultural traditions, which are all pretty similar, and then you've got the genetic makeup. So, for example, at my old company, they had to know everything. We were involved in motor development. We were involved in steel development. We did our own stampings. We did our own formulations for plastic, and we were that need to be intimately involved with every aspect of the development of a product, which was completely different from other German companies and way different from an American company. We would use that together, and then we would come to the big piece, which is the analysis and synthesis. So analysis is, Boyd always links the concepts of destruction and creation. Destruction is analysis. It's taking the thing apart and breaking it down into the constituent elements and looking at each one of those elements and trying to learn from that analysis. And that's a very important part of the game, but it's combined with synthesis. And where analysis is something where you usually have a complete data set or a more or less complete data set, and you can reach fairly accurate conclusions. Synthesis is you've got 10 mosaic stones and there's vast areas. You are, by definition, you're dealing with an incomplete data set. And so we would take all of that past knowledge, that experience, the new information, our cultural traditions, our genetic heritage, and we would grind that all through a series of analysis and synthesis to reach a decision. That can happen very quickly, or it can take a week. So that is, and again, and how many times you feed it back and how many times you discuss it. The last major award that we got was we had not gotten any business with this company in quite some time, well, ever. And so we targeted the Corvette because that was, we were a German company, we liked doing cool cars, because let's face it, the Germans make cool cars. And so we wanted a cool American car, so we picked Corvette as one we were going to target. And we went through a process of looking at 27 major observations about how we were going to win this business, and winnowing it down and winnowing it down and winnowing it down. It took all afternoon until finally we had 5 key observations, 5 key orientation points that we said if we follow where these 5 points are leading us, we'll win the business. And we did.